Okay, so this one's a little different here, admittedly, but it's been one I've been thinking about for a few weeks and decided I'd just throw something together on this. I'm not reading off a script or anything here, so I'm just kind of rambling, but hopefully it'll make some kind of sense. But, a lot of people talk about how the flat earth paradigm, or looking into the flat earth, starts to just change your perspectives on all kinds of things, and that's definitely been the case for myself. Just on all kinds of levels. There's so many different avenues that I still want to explore, and it's almost like, when you've been looking into conspiracy for any amount of time, now it's kind of like there's so many things that I want to go back and sort of revisit from this new perspective, because I feel like there's just all kinds of things that might start to make sense in a different way. And we've already seen that with stuff like Rob Skiba talking about the ley lines and the flower of life. And man, there's just so many things that I know we've just barely begun. But okay, so this is kind of a weird random one that I was thinking about, because I've also been talking a lot about just the realization that the theory of evolution being so interwoven with the entire Copernican, cosmology, with heliocentrism and everything, and the whole space meme, right, is just being a part of evolution itself. And somehow even all these millions of people who never believed in evolution, somehow we missed this. And now that I see it, it's just so painfully obvious. That's one of the things that floors me the most, is how everything we are taught about space and black holes and dark matter and orbits, everything is just totally geared around explaining how it all could have just come into being after the Big Bang, right? And I've talked about this, obviously. So as I've been mulling over this for several months now, I was thinking about when I was a child, and I grew up in the Seattle area, and we used to go to this place called the Science Center for field trips. And I'm sure most major cities around the country, and probably in a lot of countries, have something just like it. And I started to think about it, and again, it just sort of fit right into this same, what is now obvious to me, realization of evolution and the whole space exploration meme being, totally one and the same. It's like they're not related. They're just one. It's just one broader topic. And when you're looking backwards in time, that's when we're looking at dinosaurs and how everything in the universe evolved. And then when we look forward, that's basically space and technology and exploring the universe and all that. And what's interesting is I realized that at the science, I haven't been there in a number of years, but for the longest time, when I was first going there in the 80s and everything, they had this, and it looks like they still have it now, but they have this exhibit, and the whole science center is kind of broken up into like 4 or 5 buildings or areas. And so you just you go in you start on one end, and you just kind of weave your way through them all. So there's like a progression, and the first one is this dinosaur, these animatronic dinosaurs, right, that have been there for decades now, and they're kind of hokey looking, and you can hear all the little pistons and all the mechanics like moving as they like sort of crudely move around. But so you start, and that's where you start, and it's kind of been some of the exhibits at the Science Center, like, come and go, but there's some that are just there all the time. And that's where you start there with the dinosaurs, and you walk around and learn about all the different ages and the progressions from the earliest dinosaurs to the Ice Age mastodons and whatever else, the Ice Age, the mammoths and everything. And then so once you're done going through that's when you then move into the next phase that has to do with a variety of things, but that's when you move into the other parts that have all the space stuff. And I remember there's even they have like a little 1960s space capsule that you can climb in and get your picture taken and push all the buttons, and that's where the planetarium is, and you can sit and watch a planetarium show. And then they have, like I said, they have different exhibits that come through, that like they had one that was on Star Wars, and so it was all about the same stuff, but kind of using the Hollywood movies and the droids to talk about things like what they're doing in the real world with NASA and everything. So yeah, no, that's nothing really super exciting, I guess, but it's so weird to me, because I'm just thinking about evolution more than I did previous to the flat Earth. I mean, I was completely I'd completely rejected evolution as it was, but now that I'm just looking at it through this wider lens, or clearer lens, I guess, it's amazing how much I'm still kind of realizing things that just never jumped out of me before, and I've been talking about this too in a number of videos, just connecting evolution and now this whole deep space kind of subsection of evolution, and connecting that with Gnosticism, right, and ancient mystery schools and all that. And man, this is what is crazy to me, because when you really think about it, it can really only lead people in that direction, because when you really stop and step back and take a look at what scientific materialism and Darwinian evolution, cosmic evolution teach about our solar system and the sun and just the galaxy and the universe, and it's all about it. Inevitably, it will explain that the sun, at some point, the sun's gonna reach the end of its life cycle billions of years from now and burn out and eventually become a supernova and then a black hole, and our entire solar system will be wiped out, and the entire galaxy will basically do the same thing. And it's everything is just operating on this big cycle. And so when you're talking to people who have embraced evolution and embraced just fundamental materialism and rejecting any kind of a spiritual reality, it inevitably pushes the question of purpose and meaning, and what makes humanity any different than anything else, from the animals or from chunks of rock floating through space, or everything. Because if you're really going to hold to the tenets of evolution, then how do you really can't explain morality, you can't explain ethics. And of course they have all these little canned responses trying to give an explanation for why we can have such a thing as morality, and we can't know what ethics are. But they're really just they really don't hold up to any scrutiny, because there's no design, there's nothing anywhere from anyone to say why this should be this way and this shouldn't be that way. The whole idea of protecting the planet and saving the environment and fighting climate change, I mean, all that itself really flies in the face of evolutionary theory, because first of all, everything we're doing as humans is just all a part of evolution. It's all just random. We're just doing what we've evolved to do, just like when we go out and see animals in the wild and we see a lion killing a wildebeest, we don't stop and intervene, because that's just nature running its course, right? And we don't impose morality on animals that are just trying to survive and just doing whatever their evolved DNA has dictated. And so it's, it should be no different for humans. Like, so what if, if a tyrannical dictator goes out and exterminates millions of people or whatever, then that's just evolution running its course. You really can't defend why, concepts like good and evil or anything like that. And not only that, but everything's going to just burn out and reach the end of its cycle anyway. So even if, you have all these agendas of saving the planet and fighting climate change and trying to protect the environment and, do everything we can to achieve sustainability and blah, 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 a million years from now, supposedly it's all going to be reduced to nothing anyways, because just because of the properties of entropy and everything else. So, this is what always fascinates me when you get into these kind of discussions with really staunch atheists and evolutionists, is when you really push the question of meaning and purpose, and and they'll say, well, I define my own meaning, I give my own life purpose, and I just want to make the world a better place for my children, and then I'm going to die and be no more, right? And so that's kind of their idea of living on, is like, through the future generations, and that's how humanity progresses, and that's how you contribute to something greater than yourself, right? Is passing on something good to your children and the future generations. Even though, yeah, like I said, when you step back a million years from now, there won't, or 10 million, or however far you want to go in the future, sooner or later, according to evolution, there won't be a habitable Earth for anyone to live on, and which I guess is why, really, when you think about it, that's why space exploration in the grandest sense is sort of viewed as so important, because sooner or later we're going to have to get off this rock and start colonizing the rest of the universe if we're going to live on, right? And that's where I think it kind of really does notably transition into Gnosticism, because when you think about, well, okay, so say 10 million years from now humanity is colonizing planets and moons around the galaxy, well, sooner or later everything in the galaxy is going to burn out and die, and and then you're still in the same place, and you just have to keep moving around to new corners of the dying universe, which basically means that eventually, the only real way out of that whole cycle of entropy and death is to escape the physical altogether, right? To transcend it somehow. And that's where transhumanism and all this stuff is, they're so fixated on things like artificial intelligence, and the question of whether or not we could upload our consciousness into a software kind of situation, and basically become spiritual, just purely spiritual beings, even though they don't call it that, but non-physical consciousness, right? When you really step back and look at hardcore scientific materialism, in the long run, it's like the long way around back to the tenets of the New Age, right? So it all feeds back into the same eventuality, I think. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm just rambling here, but the bottom line is that I started to realize that the two major themes of the Science Center, all those years that I went there as a kid on field trips, and even when I was taking my own kids there, it's the two major topics that are always present are dinosaurs and astronauts, right? So it's evolution and space, and the realization is that, well, it makes total sense, because they're one and the same. It's all part of the same broader narrative.